Welcome to MMA Fancast. My name is Luke Bass, and welcome back to everyone who is already a subscriber to the show. If you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe so you can see more great interviews, including the one coming at you right now. A returning guest on the show from a long time ago, now a pro MMA fighter about ready to make his debut. Welcome to the show, Pat Carrasquillo. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
We were talking before we started recording about how it's so exciting you're going to be making your pro debut in a catch weight fight of 140 versus Miguel Francisco for 247. Very early in your amateur career, you have a 13-fight amateur career, which is a pretty well fleshed out amateur career before going pro. And you fought for 247 a while ago. It was your second ever and your fourth ever amateur fight. I got to call both of them, my honor. You actually fought on the first ever 247 card back April 6th of 2019. 247 just celebrated its fifth year in business. But let's kind of catch up. The last time I believe you were in 247, it was back all the way in 2019. If we could imagine, it was before COVID. You won by split decision over Quincy McCones. At the time, that made you 3-1. You're now 7-6. You've fought everywhere. You've had a ton of fights. Catch us up on the last several years.
Yes. Yeah, Free. I wanted to make sure that I had a good amount of experience, being that I kind of came into the sport kind of late. I'm 32 now. And I think I started everything when I was like 26, 27. So I was kind of like trying to get after it pretty good. Especially I didn't really get to grow up doing a lot of this stuff, being that we couldn't really afford most of it. So I was really adamant making sure that I felt comfortable in the cage before taking any further steps.
Makes perfect sense. You're coming off a win in January of 2024, so a few months back, a nice guillotine finish win. Did that set you up to go pro? How would you know now was the time for you to go pro? You're making your pro debut June 29th at Brawl in the Burgh, 21.5, which is the midday card, like I said, versus Miguel. So what was that fight like, your last amateur fight, and how did you know now was the time to go pro?
Honestly, I've just been training a long time. I spent like a good year and some change in Vegas, got some good work out there. I was able, luckily, God willing, was able to pick up a fight out there in Vegas. Had a great fight. I felt good. Decision-wise, it didn't really go my way, but I still felt good in the cage. And, like, obviously, in all our opinions, we're always going to feel like we won the fight, right? So it didn't really feel like a loss to me. And I kept getting right back at it, and I stayed in the gym. I stayed consistent. I was trying to find fights. I couldn't find anything for a while. Wound up moving to Florida. And then the opportunity presented itself in January after being here a few months. That January fight on like 24 hours notice. I was like sparring Thursday night, like 10, 11-ish. They're like, hey, there's some fights coming up. If you want, you could try and if you can make weight, make weight, show up to the weigh-ins, and, we'll get you an opponent. And it all happened to work out. They gave me an opponent, happened to be co-main, and wound up getting a smooth victory with that, in and out, first round guillotine. So right there, I was like, okay, been training for a year. A few months after that, just got a fight. I was like, I'm 32. I was like, let's go for the pro now.
That makes sense. And now that I know, I appreciate the update on you living in Vegas. Kind of makes sense why I haven't seen you in the area. You're living in Vegas. Now you're down in Florida. It was interesting because I thought you were still a local guy. So you're coming all the way from Florida for the debut. Why come all the way back to Pittsburgh? I personally love 247, of course, but what made this come together for you to come up here for your debut, June 29th, Monroeville Convention Center?
Well, we've been trying to get back on your card for a while now. It hasn't lined up a few times, you know, unfortunately. And seeing the progress 247 has made with the shows are getting doper, the way you guys advertise yourself and everything. So it was real cool. And I thought it was a real good opportunity to kind of go pro home, so to speak, you know, close to New York. And why not go pro on a promotion that I started off my beginning Emmy career with, you know? So I just thought it was perfect. So
Well, that certainly makes sense. Like I said, it's cool that you see it as a homecoming of sorts because it's close to New York. And of course, you were still very early in your second ever fight. I think at some point, every fighter that fought, and you got to win, every fighter that fought, particularly those that got to win on the first ever card, that's history for 247. That will always be 247's first ever card. In fact, the main event of the first ever card for 247 from April 6th, 2019 is still going to main event. This card, that's how legendary Kama the Test Star Worthy is. In between there, of course, he became a two-time champ for 247 and then went to a little known organization called the UFC and got two big wins there before coming back. How excited are you? You mentioned coming back and all that, but how excited are you to be on such a big card? This is the first time 247 is having, I think it's 10, I might be wrong, but it's, I think 10 pro fights on the same card, which is massive for 247, history for 247, and also pretty big deal for regional promotions. What do you think about the depth of the pro side of this card?
I think it's pretty dope. I was looking at some of the matches that you guys have lined up so far. Obviously every day you guys are dropping like new posters and new matches, pro debut here, pro debut there, and the fights look fire. So not only am I excited for my fight, you know, I'm excited to see some of the other fights on this card, some of the other guys up and coming in the sport. So I'm real hype. I don't know. I'm
Well, I'm,
surprised you
I'm
guys are
glad
able to
you're
make this
excited for
happen.
it. I'm glad you're excited for it. I'm excited for it as well. I remember your old gym or the gym you used to train out of in New York. Uh, I remember we had you guys on several times. I don't think they've been back for a little bit, but I do remember the WYN MMA gym. I think, you know, there were times you guys were on the card. Where are you training now in Florida? Tell me a little bit about that gym and how's it been going for you training down there?
It's going pretty good. I spent a few months up in Tampa, and then I wound up going back and forth down here to Fort Lauderdale to Hard Knocks 365, and wound up getting real good with some of the guys here. I like the atmosphere and everything. So now I'm down here at Hard Knocks 365 in Fort Lauderdale, and WNY. As far as that's always going to be like my home gym, especially when I go to New York. I always go there to train. That's where it all started for me. So I'm always going to show them love. I'm always going to come and help when I can and get some work in if I'm getting ready for anything. Even if I'm not getting ready and I'm just visiting, I make sure to just stay there and stay working while I'm on vacation, so to speak.
Well, that's cool. You know, gyms become like a second family. Being from New York, that being the gym where you had all of your first amateur fights out of there, there's a connection there. And I'm glad they're still up and running, still developing fighters. And now with your experience training out in Vegas, now living in Florida, training in Florida, and now being a pro, that's just the cycle of a gym. It's really cool that you get to go back there at times. Let's get to your opponent. What do you know about Miguel? I happen to know that if you have a 247 live account, he has fought for 247 a few times, just like you have. Have you looked into him a lot? What do you know about him? And then let's get to some predictions or your thoughts on the fight.
Honestly, I don't have a 247 account. I haven't really looked up his videos like that. I know he has something on YouTube. He seems pretty well rounded as far as like striking and grappling. So obviously I don't underestimate anyone. So he seems game, seems like a savage. So it seems like an exciting fight. None of the other fights I've done for you guys have been like, you know, pushovers either, but still like he seems real game. And but of course, I'm always going to be confident in myself and say, you know, that I'm going to come on top and I'm going to win, especially how I've been training. So, predictions. I don't know, a win. That's it. That's about it. I don't want to
Hey,
give too much, you know, give away secrets and stuff, but I've been working. I definitely got some stuff in store, some new tricks and things. Um, People could watch. I don't try to focus too much on watching film because you know, people always evolve. So he'd be one way on video and just have gotten better, you know. And I just gotta be ready for that. And of course, you know, he could be. I'm not saying maybe he's watched my videos, but if he has, hey, it's not the same Pat in those videos. So don't be too focused too much on those videos, you know. So
that does make a lot of sense. I think that follows all of amateur and probably the first 5 fights of a pro career. You're still developing so much. I think at some point in a pro career, some fighters become a little bit more consistent in what they do just because they've learned so much. Some people continue to evolve even 20 fights into their pro career, but obviously his amateur experience, your amateur experience, there's a lot of skills there, but I agree with you. Going pro, there's also a time change. 5 minute rounds, 3 5 minute rounds, plus a rule set. This is a catch weight fight at 140. I know you are probably kind of on the big end of making 140. I remember you being like a bigger guy for 145. I would assume Miguel was probably trying to fight bantamweight. Is that how this catch weight came together? And how confident are you in the 140 with a 1 pound allowance of 141 or under? How confident are you as far as flying, cutting, all that stuff?
I'm pretty good. It should be a pretty smooth cut. I know I was definitely a lot of bigger on the bigger side in my division in the beginning of my career, and over time, getting better with dieting and like staying in shape and stuff. I've lost a lot of weight. My weight has came down naturally, like my walk around weight and stuff. So it just felt like a better fit dropping down. But since I didn't really make that cut before, we kind of wanted to like you know, like a trial run, test in the middle before jumping full into the pool. So but I don't see any issue making the 140. My weight's good right now. I could probably make the weight right now, but obviously we're weeks out, so there'd be no point to that. But I'm feeling pretty confident at the 40. Obviously, everything goes well with this weigh-in, then the next move for us is going to be 135.
Oh, well, I'm glad I asked the question then. I incorrectly thought that, you were meeting halfway to then go back to 145. Super cool that if this goes all well and everything, you got to get there to feel it. But if everything goes well, that you might be fighting in the future at 135. Really, really exciting. We've hit it a lot in this interview that the card's going to be incredible. Brawl in the Burgh 22. For people that want to buy the pay-per-view, download 247 Live, the app, any app store. Use that to give Pat credit for pay-per-view, because now I'm sure you have friends from the fight community in Vegas, New York, and Florida. So all of them buy pay-per-views. And if you're within driving distance, go ahead to 247fighting.com to get tickets to come in person. Make sure you're picking Brawl in the Burgh 22. There's 2 cards on the same night. You'll know it right away because you'll be able to pick Pat's name as giving him credit as a fighter. And if Pat's name's not on the list, then you're on 21.5 and don't. I mean, you could still get that one, but that just won't have Pat on it. So thanks so much for coming on the show. It's been really great catching up with you. Years fly by. I would not have thought that the last time I saw you was 2019. So hats off to you for everything you've done since your last fight in 247. I'm pumped. I know 247 super excited to have all the fights that they're having. Pro debuts are always really special, just like amateur debuts are really special. So really appreciate you coming on. Can't wait to see you in action June 29th. It's a double header. 21.5 is at noon. 22 is at 6 p.m. This has been Luke Basin with MMA Fancast and Pat Carrasquillo. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. Look forward to seeing y'all.
Can't wait, brother. Take care.